What is going on, everybody? Is episode 870 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I'm here with my co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. It feels like it should be Friday.
It is Friday.
It's technically literally not. It is actually Thursday. However, Phil could not join us today. He had some personal business to attend to, but that's fine. We'll get along just fine without him.
Yeah, but it is technically Friday because we are off tomorrow.
Right.
Yes.
But I mean,
Our
technically it's literally not, though. If we're being technical.
I do like to use the word literally when literally doesn't literally apply.
I was just saying, like, it's so cold in here, and
like,
Brett's like, I'm literally dying.
I'm literally dying right now.
Literally.
Like, I have to, it's a struggle in here every day, and the air conditioning has not been working well. We replaced the air filter. I thought that would help. It has not helped. But we suffer for you guys. That's why we're here, to entertain the all of you. It's gonna be a great show.
I'm fine, actually.
You got a hoodie on.
Yeah, I feel fine.
It's crazy business, guys. Hit the like button on this video, please, and subscribe to the channel if you are new here and you have not subscribed here yet already. Please and thank you. Remember to share the segments and the live streams out with your friends, your family, your loved ones, and the people in your life that you hate as well. I'm sure there's at least one person you can think of that you just highly dislike. You should share this content with them. And then you should argue about it with them in the comments section to increase our engagement. It's one of my many master plans to help grow this show. It is the best way to help us grow, by the way, is to share the content out. So thank you guys so much for that. So what are we getting into today? Well, Charlize Theron.
We just discovered the pronunciation of her last name.
Not Theron.
Not Theron.
I'm just going to say Theron because I'm not going to, like, we'll do a segment about her in like 2 months and I'll forget.
I swear on my life I'm going to try to say Theron today. I'm actually going to make an effort.
I'm not doing it.
Out of respect.
Theron. I have no respect for these comments she made anyway. So we're going to talk about Charlize Theron because she doesn't need no man because it's 2018 all over again. And feminism is right back on the drawing board. Between that and Lily Allen talking about all of her... Between that and Lily Allen talking about all of her many abortions that she lost track of, it's just, it's a heyday for Hollywood women right now. So we're going to talk about Charlize Theron, not Theron. Doesn't matter what she says. We're going to discuss all that. She was on with Alex Cooper on Call Her Daddy. So we're going to discuss it. Also, there was a debate raging earlier in the week online after the Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez wedding where people posited the question to you, the masses, who is the prize in this relationship? Is Lauren Sanchez the prize? Is Jeff Bezos the prize? And my first thought was that both sides, I'm sure, will have an intellectual sounding answer as to who they believe truly is, you know, the sought after one in that relationship.
All the men are going to say that it's Bezos and all of the women are going to say that it's Sanchez?
I would like to think that both genders are capable of finding common ground and not always just picking on gender lines, that it's one or the other. Like,
but be realistic. I mean, what are we seeing, right?
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. We're also going to talk about Gen Z because they have absolutely zero zip zilch nada as far as etiquette skills when it comes to work. They don't even know how to greet people when they're working some type of customer service job. And there's a whole cottage industry that's been created to teach Gen Z employees about workplace etiquette. The funniest thing about that, I think, is that they're blaming COVID. I'm like, the youngest Gen Zer is how old?
The youngest?
Yeah, the youngest Gen Zer is how old?
Right now, I think 13.
Okay. So their logic here is that people who were 18 when COVID happened, they're blaming COVID. They're saying they didn't learn any type of etiquette skills. My guess being 18 because theoretically they could be done with college by now and in the real world. And since they finished high school or whatever during COVID, that's why they don't know how to say hi to people when they enter the workplace.
The kids who are they're not kids. The adults who are a year younger than me, who graduated in 2020, they will just let you know. Like, you don't even have to ask. They are just so eager to complain about how they had to graduate over Zoom. It's the most obnoxious thing to complain about. Like, I know it sucks.
Yeah.
I'm glad it wasn't me. Like, when I thought back on it, I was like so glad that I graduated the year before that. in 2019, but still, like, you cannot just blame COVID for all of your problems. And that's what people are doing. That's what entire industries are doing.
Yeah, I mean, I saw people talking about how they felt cheated because they didn't get to walk. They didn't get to walk, like, to get their diploma.
Yeah, I hated walking.
I didn't walk. I skipped.
Oh, you were allowed to do that?
I think I walked in high school. I skipped in college.
Well, you shouldn't be allowed to skip your graduation ceremony.
I'm there for the diploma, not for the.
They wouldn't have given me a diploma if I didn't walk.
Okay.
It was pretty.
I'm gonna
serious.
read this. I'm gonna read this super chat now since it's the beginning of the show. Not that John Stewart says R.I.P. Michael Madsen. Yes, that is very sad. There's so many great actors that I love that have passed. Actors like Michael Madsen or Michael Massey several years back, and it's always sad because he wasn't that old. He was only 67.
True.
And he's very, very well known. Reservoir Dogs. I mean, even if you're not a big movie fan, in later years, he did a lot of television. He did a lot of. Is Tom Sizemore still alive? Can somebody at least let me know? Please tell me that Tom Sizemore is still alive.
No.
No?
He died in 2023.
Yeah. Okay. That's what it was. Yeah. Those ones hit hard. Tom Sizemore because of the many things that I've seen him in. Michael Madsen, obviously Reservoir Dogs, and Kill Bill. So many other things that he's famous for. That's a tough one.
I don't think I've seen him in anything.
He's not that old.
67. I mean, I guess he might have had a health issue.
I hope he's at rest. So, All right. If you are ready to get into it, we can get into it. Are you ready?
I think I'm ready.
All right. Let's go.
So I thought this was only happening to women, getting scammed by AI deepfake celebrities and spending money on them. But we found an example of a man who got scammed by an AI deepfake Jennifer Aniston, as well as a handful of other celebrities and public figures. This is not as bad as the Brad Pitt scandal, where these women were spending literal hundreds of thousands of dollars on him.
Correct.
Whoever that was behind the screen. He actually only spent hundreds on the AI Jennifer Aniston.
I wonder if like the Brad Pitt one has like an F1 special now, where he's like in a race car and sending you deepfakes.
No, the sick thing about the Brad Pitt one that makes it even worse, not just the money spent on that scammer, was that they were using AI photos of Brad Pitt in hospital beds with like tubes coming out of his face.
I got into an accident filming F1. You gotta send me $100.
Yeah, claiming that he was having some kind of medical crisis and that he needed money because of the divorce that he was going through with Angelina Jolie. So this isn't quite as egregious.
No.
But I just think it's way more obvious as well that it's fake, because this guy was getting inundated with messages from bots.
So Tim actually explained, I don't know how this came up, not relating to this specifically, about why these scams are so obvious. It's actually done on purpose because... If it's done on purpose and it's very clear that it's fake, the only person who's going to fall for it is somebody who's actually going to part with their money. If somebody actually has to put work into, if somebody even spends a minute trying to discern whether this is real or not, they're very unlikely to open their pocketbook for you. But if you're the type of person who reads the Nigerian Prince email scam and the spelling errors don't bother you, then you're more likely to actually open your wallet. It's terrifying.
That makes sense. If you're vulnerable already, you're not likely to question whether it's actually Jennifer Aniston messaging you on Facebook. This man is from the UK, a 43-year-old. He fell victim to a disturbing new wave of AI scams after being bombarded with messages from deepfake celebrity accounts on social media.
In the chat, somebody said boomers fall for everything. This guy isn't a boomer. This guy is a millennial or a Gen Xer.
If he's 43, I think he would count as Gen X.
Okay, so he's like at the edge of Gen X and millennial.
You would not expect a man so young to fall for this. They also mention for some reason that he's unemployed and also suffers from depression. Perhaps they think that made him more vulnerable to the scam.
Yeah.
He was relentlessly targeted by AI-generated videos, including ones that appeared to feature Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and Jennifer Aniston herself. In one cruel twist, he was sent an image of what looked like Jennifer Aniston's driver's license. And you can see in that photo, before she told him she loves him and asked for money, she messaged him, whoever this was behind the screen, asking for £200 and proclaiming love for him. He believed the message was real and sent the money in the form of non-refundable Apple gift cards.
It's like the one from like you get the message from Zack Snyder saying, "I need $600 to finish Justice League."
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel bad for him because I do feel bad on a human level, but I cannot relate to the experience.
I was raised to literally think everything is a scam.
Well, actually, no. I fell for one scam. And I think I may have talked about it.
Oh, we've talked.
I got one of those damn toll road texts, and I was like, Michigan. I've never been in Michigan, let alone driven on a toll road in Michigan. But okay, you know, sure, I might get arrested. So stupid. It was so stupid. I had to cancel like 3 debit cards in a row. It was so annoying. But yeah, I guess maybe I'm not in the right to claim a moral high ground here. But yeah,
I feel for the dude.
He said, once bitten, twice shy, which I had never heard before.
Never. It's a song, but you looked up what it means?
It means, you know, you're hard done by and you're not going to trust again. Hopefully.
The basis of so many love
I hope
songs.
This was a learning experience for him. But you can see in this screenshot, there's this, I don't know if this is an AI photo of Jennifer Aniston or
Could
a
be
real
a real
one.
picture.
No, it's AI. It's AI. You can see the fingers are weird. Look at the fingers.
Oh, yeah, right there.
Yeah, there are 6 fingers on the other hand.
Or no, that's just a finger on top of one.
Oh, maybe it is real. Who knows? But it does look odd. She said, "What time will you send it to me, my love? Are you there? My subscription is about to expired. Can you send me the $100 Apple card to purchase, my love?" And he said, this is crazy. His response is even crazier. "I will later, bye." Even if you think this is Jennifer Aniston, would you not be a little more polite?
No, that's actually that's him doing a Chad move. He's like, "Look, I don't need
playing
you.
hard to get.
I don't need you.
AI
you need
Jennifer
me."
Yeah. And then she said, "Please be careful and stop liking any of my pictures on any fake account. It's going to put you in trouble. And don't comment too, okay, hun? Now you have found me. You have to block and delete all the fake accounts you're chatting with. I don't want anything to hurt you, please." Which is when she sent the driver's license photo saying, "This is my driver's license, you texting with the real Jennifer Aniston. Okay, don't go to Facebook to reply anyone anymore. Don't comment on any page so you don't get into any problems."
They're isolating you from the people in your life.
Yep. Don't cheat on me with other AI scammers.
Seriously.
He's been receiving dozens of messages every day, and I was like, why this guy? Did they just particularly target him? Like this was an operation?
No, my guess is that this guy interacts with a lot of bot accounts on Facebook. Like if you're a dude and you get a friend request from a woman that looks like an Instagram model, you're better off assuming always that it's fake.
Scammers were trying to fool him into thinking he'd won a special prize, from a cash windfall to a luxury Range Rover. And there's this, play the Mark Zuckerberg video. In this one, he's saying, "This is not a scam, believe me."
Hello, dear winner Paul Davis. I know you might be surprised, I don't actually make videos to winners, but it's okay.
It doesn't even sound like Zuckerberg.
I just don't want you to miss out this privilege because I know how useful the cash is to you and your family. I'm a man of God with God-fearing heart. I can never cheat on another person's sweat. But trust me, the word of God says many sorrows shall be to the wicked. But he that trusteth in the Lord, mercy shall compass him about. Psalm 30:10.
This is
you will
so
give a testimony
evil.
by the time you receive your winning Range Rover and your cash. And also I want to assure you that our conversations are completely secure and trustworthy. You're communicating directly with me, the genuine person, not an impersonator. My duty is to assist you, and I require your trust and cooperation.
He's like some kind of religious figure.
The only way I could relate is if you ever got tricked by one of those fake trailers on YouTube.
And there's fake Jennifer Aniston holding up a sign that says "I love you."
There was a fake version of the Odyssey trailer going around because there's the real Odyssey trailer that played, and then there was a fake version of the Odyssey trailer that played with a very clearly fake AI like voice in the background yesterday. But we were going to do a topic at one point. In fact, it might have been when you were out of town, that there is a whole cottage industry now for fake Marvel trailers that has doubled in size because of AI, because they can do it with computer generated imagery to a level that they never could before. And people are like, oh my God, did you see this character is going to show up in Doomsday? I'm like, bro, they started filming Doomsday like 8 seconds ago. Like, there's no trailer out yet.
Yeah, it used to be that fan-made trailers were clearly fan-made because they were just using spliced clips
Harder
from prior
to tell
movies.
now for some people, yeah.
He said, "It's been going on for about 5 months. I thought people would get into trouble for this, but these people seem to be having a laugh and getting away with
They
it."
never get into trouble for it, man. And plus, how could you believe that Zuckerberg was faking it? He clearly said, I am a real person and not an imposter.
Also, somehow,
which is something a real person says.
Somehow Paul Davis claims that he even knows other people in real life who have fallen for scams of a similar variety, saying, "Someone I know has spent over $1,000 on Apple gift cards for scammers." So if you know that your friend went through this, you would presumably be even more on guard, right?
To what's going on, yeah.
Struggling with his mental health and unable to work, he admits the scams are taking a toll on him. "I can't keep taking that sort of hit," he said.
Just don't send anybody the money.
Look at the
Mary,
Elon photo.
Now you see why I give money to the homeless. Because at least I know when I give money to a homeless person that it's a real person and not some scammer in India.
Scroll down to the Elon Musk photo. He's holding up a sign that says, "Dear winner Paul Davis, you don't have to be afraid of anything." That's so sinister. And he's like holding up a bottle of wine. Then there's the Ellie Goulding one. "Hello, Paul. Good evening. I sent you this to prove to you I'm the real Ellie."
I can't. I love the Zuckerberg eyes in this next photo.
They're so, I mean, it just didn't even sound like him, but it is really evil that they scripted that, right? They scripted what the fake Zuck was supposed to say, and they thought the easiest way to manipulate people would be having him quote Bible verses. Now they say Paul wants to raise awareness and warn others about the sophisticated tactics fraudsters are using to extract personal information.
Well, look, sophisticated.
Sophisticated is a strong word.
Look, I guess it's still technically sophisticated because it's working, I guess.
In Paul's case, he was sent a certificate from Facebook claiming he'd won $500,000 and a car. But in reality, it was a fake created by AI. The goal is to get the victim's home address under the guise of delivering prizes.
I was actually just thinking the other day, like, I would like to create like a TikTok account where all I do is respond to the emails in my in the scam folder. I honestly thought women would be more likely to fall for these scams. I mean, that seems to be true.
Of the emotional aspect of it.
There's more examples of women falling for it than there are of men. I mean, theoretically, there's a way in which the guy who's desperate to be seen as a provider falls for this because he's helping someone on hard time. He's helping a woman on hard times. That woman apparently being Jennifer Aniston. Apparently all the Friends royalties dried up and she needs $200 in Apple gift cards.
But now I'm not so sure. There are so many AI generated OnlyFans models, and I'm sure many men are falling for those and sending money.
That would be interesting to know, like what percentage of them just accept that it's AI and don't care. And which percentage of them?
Because you have to know on some level, and maybe there's even an aspect of it that they find appealing, like it's sort of a humiliation kink.
Or it's the fact that they're
but
maybe
like,
in their
you're
maybe in their
also-
mind they don't attach the idea that there's somebody talking to them on the other side, that they think they're only interacting with the computer, which feels more feels more private, when that's not usually the case. There's still somebody mining that data.
Right.
Those chat logs are still somewhere.
I was reminded of the feature on TikTok that people say tracks biometric data and users, tracks their facial expressions while they're watching videos on their For You page, and uses that to target you more specifically, usually with videos that upset you. If you if you furrow your brow or look disturbed by a video you're watching on TikTok, it would be more likely to send you that type of content. However, I think TikTok denied that is a feature they use. I don't know if I would trust that, but still, some people say that is a way that TikTok manipulates people.
That's
and then
scary to think about.
there's also some museums use eye tracking technology in front of art pieces to curate the placement of different pieces. And there's
lighting.
just something creepy about all of it.
I mean, that's been going on for ages, for as long as, retail stores have dumped millions into figuring out where stuff goes that's going to sell the best, and shelf space going to specific companies, what goes at eye level, what goes up higher.
I mean, we might be laughing at Paul Davis, but my point is we're all falling for Jennifer Aniston scams in a way.
In our own way.
Yeah, we're all getting scammed all the time.
There you go.
So, I mean, sorry if this has happened to you or your grandma out there. Not trying to put you down, but be on guard, guys.
It is something to think about.
Yes.
All right, let's move on.
You need to know about microfeminism so that you can avoid it. Women on TikTok are sharing the ways that they implement microfeminism in their daily lives. And what this means is you can develop habits, turns of phrase, or subtle gestures in your day-to-day life to make the world a more feminist and equitable place. And what it really is women trying to be as spiteful as possible towards men at all times, including in the workplace, in order to feel like they're doing something for the feminist cause.
So is this lady like the opposite of the office siren?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Okay.
Microfeminism has been given its name by TikTok, but the trend, which encourages women to make the world more equitable through small, intentional daily gestures, is one that is worth putting into practice, according to Glamour magazine. So these are some examples that I found on TikTok that women are sharing. Up with the matriarchy, she says.
All right, let's listen to this first one here.
This guy comes up to me and he goes, "Are you Drew's wife?" And I was like, "No, Drew's my husband." And he was like, "Oh my God." And he kind of laughed. He's like, "I love that." He goes, "Have you heard of microfeminism? I learned about it 3 days ago on a TikTok by this girl named Katie Wood, who uses really subliminal ways of being feminist." And one of the examples that she gave was basically to assume the default of a medical professional is a female and not a male. So they'll be like, "Well, we're just going to go ahead and see what she says about your results." And it's true, because we do automatically assume. I even do it as a professional. Like, sometimes I'll be like, "What did he say?" And my patient will be like, "Oh, she said." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh," even I do it as a female who's apparently a microfeminist, at least with my husband. And anyways, new follower, hope to learn more and be covertly feminist. Anyways, it was really funny. So show me your TikTok.
It's not just using gender-neutral language, it's actually replacing gender-neutral language with female pronouns instead. Mm-hmm. To assume anyone with a respectable job is female and use those pronouns to change people's assumptions.
But wouldn't just, I mean, I imagine that I would just say they if I didn't know the, I mean, this is a whole thing in movies for decades, Honest Trailers or CinemaSins would talk about it, which is when the pronouns become extremely obvious when they start saying he, or she, it's to indicate that it's the other.
Right.
Yeah.
To kind of set you up to
and
subvert your expectations.
I notice this every time I watch a television show when they're like, there's a hacker. Nobody knows who he is. I'm like, I wonder if it's going to be a guy.
And this is the most notorious example, this next one, of microfeminism. And I've seen women talk about this before. They purposefully don't move on a sidewalk or wherever they are to evade the walking path of a man who is coming the opposite direction.
Okay, here we go.
Favorite act of microfeminism. So I teach a class at a university on campus, going back to my car after class. So I'm on the sidewalk, on the correct side of the sidewalk, only taking up my one little lane, and I'm walking to the car. And sure enough, there's a group of 8 young men walking towards me, taking up the entire sidewalk. None of them are on their phones. They're talking to each other, but they're all looking forward. And they just keep walking forward. Nobody moves over. They are taking up the entire sidewalk. And I just kept walking in my lane, and I literally walked into one of them. Anyways, I'm a recovering people pleaser, and in my early 20s, I met with a licensed counselor. Anyway, she's the one who told me to pay attention when I'm walking on sidewalks, because men will rarely yield to women if they're walking in a group and walking opposite directions. They'll just expect you to move out of the way. And so the microfeminist thing to do is to just stay in your lane and let them run into you. And don't apologize because they're not following the rules of the sidewalk. In the 8-ish years since I've gotten that advice, it is still shocking to me how often this happens. And I'm sure there will be people in my comments who are like, oh no, it's just you. But if you're a woman, let me know if you've experienced this before too.
Okay, you could say they're lacking courtesy to not move out of the way, but they're claiming that it's because they feel entitled to the space because of the patriarchy.
The issue here is that you'll live longer not caring about this.
Yes.
You will live longer, you will be happier, your heart will beat freer if you are not annoying and annoyed by everything.
Practicing microfeminism is going to shave years off of your lifespan.
It's like when people talk about microaggressions. My last name has been mispronounced my whole life. Never once has it bothered me. Never once have I cared. Never once have I... When I'm on podcasts and they get it wrong, I don't even bother to correct them because it doesn't matter. I don't care.
Dasovic, Dasovic.
It doesn't matter.
Dasovich.
And it's not, I mean, this was a thing that used to get talked about a lot in the early 2020s, which was like, they would say it was a form of like micro racism to, if you couldn't pronounce somebody's name correctly,
Right.
if it wasn't like a white Western sounding name. Well, I have a non-traditional, my last name is not Smith. And when people get it wrong, I don't care. And I'm going to live longer than you because I don't care. That's why I look so good for my age, because I don't care.
And this next example is from a woman in the corporate world practicing being a girl's girl with microfeminism in the workplace.
All right, here we go. Mute it.
Form of like microfeminism.
It's
is
not on
an
screen yet.
email, let's say to like
This is as loud as it goes, unfortunately. We're peaked at the volume.
a CEO, and you have to copy their assistant for scheduling purposes. If the assistant is a female, I will always in the email to line, I will always enter their email address before the CEO's. So if like the CEO was Bob and the assistant is a female named Jane, I'm always going to put the to line Jane and then the CEO. Like nobody probably notices, but it makes me feel like I see you. Another thing that I do kind of along the same lines is if I'm emailing a team, I will always address the woman first in the actual email. So I'll be like, hey, Kathy and Joe. I'm having a hard time coming with names. Anyway, that's my favorite form of microfeminism.
Joe doesn't care. Like, do they know that? I guess she admitted that nobody notices and it's only to make her happy. It's only for her own personal sense of satisfaction.
I mean, that's a prison of your own making.
Yeah, no, literally no one cares. Joe doesn't care and Kathy doesn't care.
Kathy doesn't care. 'Cause
Kathy definitely doesn't
Kathy
care.
is not burdened by the level of your feminism.
I also was only alerted to the existence of microfeminism from a reel that I came across saying, tell me your most unhinged way that you practice microfeminism in your life. I'm not talking about assuming the doctor is a woman. Give me insane ones, thanks. I'm assuming she's looking for recommendations. So this is one My daughter met one of my male coworkers when she was little and turned to me and said, "Mom, I didn't know boys could be doctors too." As a waiter, if I can't carry all the food at once, I'll bring a mother's food first. I introduce female friends by their accomplishments, and I introduce men as their hobbies. We play cards with the queen having the highest value. I mean, okay. For the last 10 years, I've been taking my kid to exclusively female professionals. He now thinks all doctors, dentists, hairstylists, etc. are women by default, saying, "I know you're very emotional right now, but let's try to focus on the facts when a business debate gets heated with a male colleague. They love that." Mm-hmm. When a man asks if I'm done with something at the gym, I say, "Sure, do you want me to lower the weight?" Oh, here's another one. I say humanly designed instead of man-made. That's been one I've heard about for a while now, like referring to humankind instead of mankind.
Yeah. Again, all of these people are just like, I feel sad for them more than anything. Like, this level of combativeness over the genders is going to make your life so much less fulfilling and make you so much angrier. Like to be fair, like, I get it. Like, there's plenty of things that people can say that bother me. That's true. But like, if you walk around with this much hate in your heart,
right?
It's not good.
Right, but they're smiling so smugly about it, and it clearly does something for them.
But the thing is you or I win by not caring. Like,
right.
You or I win by not caring that they're like that.
I'm trying to think, because
like, if a woman came to me tomorrow and addressed me second in an email, I would never notice that.
With the I'm thinking about like things that I do in my daily life that some of these women would probably interpret as a microfeminism. And one of them is that I always intend to make eye contact with people and not look at the ground or look into the distance. I make eye contact, especially if it's at night, if I'm alone, if I'm, like whatever, at a gas station or something. I make sure intentionally to make eye contact with people. And that goes for men, actually, especially because it's a personal safety measure. You're seen as more vulnerable to attack if someone is intending to hurt you if you're not looking aware of your surroundings and if you look afraid. Yeah. So that's one thing, but that's not microfeminism. That's just
that's personal safety.
That's just personal safety.
Being aware of your surroundings is important. And
as for the sidewalk thing, I practice that, but I don't practice that specifically when a man or a group of men is coming my way. I do that just in general. If I'm on the correct side of the sidewalk, I'm going to stay there. And people just lack courtesy in general. It's not only men.
Yeah. There's no way in your life that you're better off behaving in such a neurotic way towards the genders. It's gonna make that first lady said she was married. Like, I imagine that.
Yeah. Like, why are you married if you are this preoccupied with how much you hate men? But that is actually a prime example of women or just liberals in general who talk left and walk right. And conservatives do some of the same thing. They would talk right and walk left in their own personal lifestyle. But a lot of self-proclaimed feminists are in their daily lives not actually practicing the values they preach, because they tend to get married and assume traditional roles, and they're like, "Oh no, it's my choice." Yeah. But it's actually not your choice. It's what you naturally desire. Yeah. There were others that included holding the door open for men.
Again,
a man would actually just feel flattered that you did that.
I say thank you. Here, that'll always be the number one thing that will shock me, because I hold the door open for everybody. One of my favorite things is, like, I'm actually so gung-ho about it that I tend to be one of those person that will hold the door for just a little bit too long. Like, I probably could have just gone in and there was enough time for them to get to the door and open it themselves without them feeling...
You're the guy who's holding the door and they're like 10 feet away and kind of jogging.
Yes, that's me. It was like that scene from, what was it? what was the movie where he holds the door for like 10 people and that's me. Like, I will hold the door for everyone, and it doesn't matter if you're a guy, girl, black, white, gay, straight. I don't care.
I will never forget.
It's just courtesy.
Your story about the
Yes.
woman who told you off for
Yeah.
holding open a door for her when you didn't even know that she was female because you weren't looking at her.
I was looking down.
You
I was like
didn't even
looking
know
at my
who was
phone.
walking.
I had no idea who was walking. Like, and that's the thing. That lady, clearly a feminist. If you don't know, like back in like 2009 or 2010, I was visiting a friend on a college campus, and again, I went to tech school, so I got my degree in the back of a paper napkin. I wasn't exposed to that type of feminism, especially not back then. And I held the door open, and I was either looking at my shoes or my phone or something, not paying attention to what was going on. But I saw somebody walking behind me. The courteous thing to do is hold the door for them. And they said, the next time you want to hold the door open for a woman who is perfectly able to do it herself, how about you don't? And I'm like,
And that was even back in, what did you say,
2010, 9 or 10. So, like, that
That's
lady
wild.
probably made more anti-feminist than she's ever made a feminist, just by virtue of talking that way to somebody
Yeah.
who had no inclination one way or the other.
Yeah. They also, of course, mention manspreading in this list. In public spaces, I make sure when I'm sitting next to a manspreading man, I make them close their legs. If they're listening to loud videos, I ask them to silence them.
That's fair.
I would
That
do the
is-
same for a woman, but somehow it's always men.
That is absolutely fair. Like, if you're listening to videos loud on a train or on a bus, you're being rude to everyone around you. Just don't do it. Put your headphones in. If you don't have headphones, you must suffer without videos. Sorry.
Keeping your last name when you get married, that seems like more of a macro feminism to me than
Yeah.
a micro feminism. But point being, it's just implementing ways to be kind of a see you next Tuesday for no reason all the time in a way that is actually more emotionally taxing than just living your life.
And look, the other thing is like, this is, we fall victim to the internet and this type of trend. Never in my life, other than the one example, have I ever run into a person who wasn't grateful to have the door held open for them.
Yeah.
Like, I've never since had that. Maybe that's why it's so shocking that in many, many years since, over a decade since, in 15 years of holding doors open for people at gas stations, at buildings, at stores, never has anybody ever appeared anything other than grateful for doing so.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like no one is actually paying attention to you.
Yep.
That's what they seem to forget. No one is offended by anything that they're doing, and also they're not making the world a more feminist place.
No.
They're actually doing the opposite. They're creating anti-feminists.
Or they're
as you said.
like I said, like, or nothing's happening, and the other person wins anyways by not knowing what's going on and not caring.
Right.
Like your kids growing up going to all female doctors. That's just weird.
Yeah.
That's just weird.
That's actually crazy.
You're just a weirdo, and your kids will suffer because of it.
Right.
So, all right, let's move on. What would you like to see, cringe or cute of the day?
You decide.
All right, we'll do cringe first because I've got two cutes as well.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
This one is
Ariana Grande.
I know it's fake, but I don't care.
That's fine. Here we go.
With that video that made headlines earlier this summer, you were in a donut shop, you were in California, you said some hurtful things about Americans and about people's weight. A lot of start though with that video that made
I
headlines.
like the top comment says she's so unserious. I love her.
This is not real, by the way.
Yes.
But like, well, that did happen actually. She did lick a donut in a donut shop.
I hate America.
And say that she hates America. That is real.
All right. Well, you know what? To counteract the anti-American bias, I have picked this cute of the day. Since tomorrow is the 4th of July. By the way, I put up a post on X asking you guys, do you have any 4th of July traditions? Is there something you do every 4th of July? I watched the movie Independence Day every 4th of July. I showed it to Olivia for the first time last year, and I brought it up yesterday or 2 days ago. I said, oh, Independence Day is coming up. And she knew I was talking about the movie because I didn't say the 4th of July. I said Independence Day.
Yeah.
which means we will not go quietly into the night. But this is from Aaron on X, says, for cute or cringe, you decide. Our furry crew from Central Illinois.
Definitely not cringe.
Not cringe.
That's a lot of dogs, though. You probably have a big property.
Look, the best
them
is
run
this
around.
one, this guy down here with the tie.
I didn't even notice him. Aw.
That is a very cute one.
Little nugget.
Those are some very cute dogs.
It's patriot culture crisis today.
Yes, it is. All right, let's do one more. This is from Infinite Walrus. Says, meet my cat Belle. She's a 4-year-old Turkish van. She has a very interesting orange spot on her side that looks like a heart sometimes when she sits.
I want to see it.
That's so cute.
Aww. Oh, it is like a heart. Yeah. Very cute.
Oh. All right.
It's shaped like a basketball.
Remember, guys, you can submit your pets so that you can brag about them to the whole world by submitting them to me on X. Tag me in there at Brett Dasovic and use the hashtag PCCPets. Send pictures, not videos. The computer can't handle videos. All right, let's get started.
Call Her Daddy host Alex Cooper just sat down to interview Charlize Theron, and the title of this interview is Charlize Theron, I Don't Need a Man. So that should tell you everything you need to know about this already. So they say Charlize discusses her current approach to dating, being a single mom, and why marriage isn't necessarily for her. She also opens up about her therapy journey, navigating power imbalances in Hollywood, and finding healing.
Can I be honest? That's literally every topic in the world that I hate.
So the entire thing, of course, because it's Call Her Daddy, is about meaningless hookups,
Therapy,
and
power imbalances.
Embracing your authentic self and going on a journey, and everything is a journey. There were some more serious parts, but the kind of headline that's going to get churned out from an episode like this is about Charlize Theron's hookup with a man who was, I believe, less than half her age, a 26-year-old, and she bragged about this. Again, this is just feminists LARPing as the worst type of man and thinking that it's empowering.
That was my actual post about it. I said, feminism has long been critical of men that act irresponsibly, and women have fought for decades to be able to act just like men. Ironically, the men they've chosen to be like are the ones that have been the most roundly criticized, and in my opinion, should be criticized by everyone. Somebody said to me, they said, so you think one night stands are bad? And I said, I don't really think one way or the other. I think that bragging about it is cringe, which is worse than bad.
Also, warning you, Charlize Theron just throws an F-bomb in between every sentence in this interview.
She's an 18-year-old who just moved out and is using cuss words.
Thinks it's super edgy to drop the F-bomb. Yeah. And I think they reported in a 3-hour-long interview, Charlize said the F word over 150 times. So this is just something that she does.
So edgy. Bro.
Warning you ahead of time, but here it is.
With women, it's always like, something must be wrong with her. She can't keep a man. She must be a real bitch. What a cunt. I love that I don't have to run every fucking thing by a guy. I'm having the kind of sex I never had in my 20s or in my 30s. We should be the ones that are like, fuck you. Like, I'm gonna have an orgasm. But I did just recently fuck a 26-year-old, and it was really fucking amazing. There's a casting for this movie, and you have to go on Saturday night, and they gave me the address, and it was this director's house. The little voice inside me definitely said, this isn't right. I remember being furious with myself because I couldn't believe how I had let myself down. Like, I was like, what the fuck? Who the fuck are you? Where the fuck? Why the fuck would you allow that? Until you are in this fucking environment, don't tell me how you're gonna behave.
Literally every word basically is the F word. It's just so try hard.
If the director had been a 26-year-old, it would have been fine.
49-year-old Charlize Theron went into the story of her one-night stand with a 26-year-old man, saying, I've probably had 3 one-night stands in my entire life, but I did recently F a 26-year-old, and it was really effing amazing, and I've never done that. And I was like, oh, this is great. Okay. I'm having the kind of sex I never had in my 20s or in my 30s, and this is how she's reclaiming her I don't know, sexual freedom or some bullshit like that.
Maybe that's the problem, is that everything has to be elevated to some like deep, meaningful experience with everything. Sometimes bad behavior. Look, if she's like, look, I just want to act bad, but I know it's bad. like I'm okay with that. It's when you have to start turning it into some type of dissertation as to why it's some type of feminist power statement that, you know, it doesn't ring as true. Well, I don't think it rings as true to anybody.
That clip, it explains the tone of every one of these podcast episodes, and it gives women everything that they want. The oversharing graphic sexual details, also mixed with trauma dumping and talking about therapy and healing and taking, you know, prescription drugs. It's all wrapped up into one with an emotional soundtrack to match how you're supposed to feel at the moment.
Well, her editors are doing their job.
So, I mean, she was also talking about her childhood trauma, and I actually didn't know that her dad died when she was a 15-year-old. She had an alcoholic dad who came home armed with a gun and threatening her and her mom, and what resulted was her mom had to shoot him and killed him that way, and she witnessed it. But again, this is like, it's so bizarre to mix that type of sharing with talking about like my one night stand and my orgasms in the same episode. Like, that just seems really emotionally fractured.
Yeah.
Which is almost the point.
It'll never ring true to most people because anybody with half a brain that's an adult understands that it's not difficult for women to have sex if they want to have sex. So having a one-night stand with a 26-year-old is in no way an accomplishment. Unless you want to say the accomplishment was that you got to have an orgasm and that every other time you haven't, in which case, again, skills issue with the people you're picking in your life. But holy crap.
Right.
Like, there's just like, and even in the irony is that the idea is supposed to be that they believe that guys talk like this about it because it actually is supposed to be an accomplishment when a guy supposedly picks up a woman. But the thing is guys don't talk like that. They definitely don't talk like that on podcasts.
Well, unless that's like a pickup artist, right? And that's the weird thing. It's like all of these,
the male actors are not doing this.
Right. Like Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Even though his dating life gets a lot of attention, he never talks about it.
Yeah.
He certainly would never go on a podcast and talk about his one night stands with like, you know, models in their 20s. He just would have more of a sense of decorum about that type of thing.
Yeah.
Because with the actresses, all sense of shame, all sense of decorum and dignity has been completely thrown out of the window. And it's kind of pathetic to tell stories like this about your sexual conquests for anyone, but especially for a woman, because it takes zero effort to hop into bed with someone. If you're a woman, it would literally, you could go on a dating app and find someone to hook up with in 2 seconds. Everyone knows that it's valueless. And she just sounds like some sort of manosphere influencer in a woman's body.
Yeah, she does in a lot of ways. And
because they see, like, they think that men live enviable lives. Or at least they believe that the shittiest, most disgusting, herpes-ridden men live enviable lives, and they want to LARP as that.
She watches lots of Dan Bilzerian and
right? Like, is she just watching too many like Andrew Tate
That's
clips?
the funnier version of this is that she's really into Andrew Tate.
Right?
She won't
like
tell anyone, but like her whole feed is like old Hustler University clips.
Yeah. And, you know, it wouldn't be an interview with a Hollywood actress if they didn't talk about sexual harassment in Hollywood. And this was another story that she shared about a director on a movie making a sexual pass at her during an audition. I wanted to show this second clip about it.
All right, here we go.
Explain what happened when you got there.
I didn't know what an audition or what the process really, what that looked like. An agency that I was working at as a model I said, listen, I'm interested, so naively, didn't know how you went about being an actor. I said, if you hear of any auditions, I'd like to go. And they said, oh, we think there's a casting for this movie and you have to go on Saturday night. And they gave me the address and it was this director's house. The little voice inside me definitely said, this isn't right. But then the other voice in me says, well, I don't know. Maybe it is right. And it wasn't right.
And as women, we're constantly in positions where we want to be like, no, I'm overreacting. Like, there's no way I'm going to get there and it's going to be weird. There's no way.
And even when it is weird, you're talking yourself out of this isn't weird. Like, no, I'm taking this the wrong way. It's like we can only share these experiences and we can talk about them enough so that hopefully it becomes normalized, that we hear it enough where women can just go like, okay, I've heard about this time. I think that we need to tell these stories so that we can understand that we're not alone. Like, that's the thing, right? And it's hard to tell them in a world where people don't want to fucking believe you. And when it starts to sound repetitious and it's like, oh, it's the same story again. It's like, yeah, but guess what? We're all made of the same fucking we're human beings. And until you are in this fucking environment, don't tell me how you're going to behave, because I will not let a motherfucker fuck with me any day of the week. But when somebody catches you off guard like that, within seconds, somebody is telling you your value and they're telling you you're not really that valuable. Because guess what? I was never going to get a part that night. And I knew that as soon as I left. Like when I was driving up Laurel Canyon, I knew I wasn't there because I had some value that I was going to bring to this man's movie. I was there for one thing. I was only valued for one thing. That was it.
And it's effing disgusting.
Well, I mean, there's another way that this could go. There's somebody else that did this. It was Aaron Taylor Johnson's wife.
True.
Aaron Taylor Johnson, at just like 18 years old, was invited to a director's house to audition for a role. And they got married and have multiple children now. So, you know.
Sometimes the casting couch is inside the director's house. But yeah, she said.
But I mean, they didn't get together till after the movie finished, from what I've been told.
Her agency told her to go to this director's house on a Saturday night, which she did find weird. He allegedly answered the door in his pajamas and then proceeded to put his hand on her knee, which is when she immediately got up and left.
She did the right thing.
Yes.
She got up and left. That was the right thing to do. She didn't stay there. She didn't naively wait for the situation to change or allow herself to be led around. That is absolutely the right thing to do, and good for her on that. The question people are asking now, though, in the comment section is, why aren't you naming this director so that we can let the other actresses know that driving up Laurel Canyon for a midnight audition for a movie is probably not going to go your way?
Yeah, I mean, you'd hope that they'd have the common sense to realize that that's not a work meeting with the context. But apparently, Charlize Theron herself didn't know that at the time. She did have the correct response by getting up and leaving and not staying around on the hopes of getting the role, or, God forbid, like literally having transactional sex with the male director in order to get the role. However, I would bet most of the women that had sex with Harvey Weinstein when he was at his peak in Hollywood knew exactly what they were getting into. Yep. They knew exactly the terms of that interaction. They knew what they were giving up, and they knew what they were getting back in exchange.
Yeah. In the comments, they're talking about the fact that Aaron Taylor Johnson is, much younger than his wife. I love how far society.
Creepy.
I love how far society has fallen. Is that Jarrett in the chat says, at least he's in a nuclear family. Yeah, I mean, he does have that going for him.
Sure. I mean, the Aaron Taylor Johnson marriage gives me Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte Macron vibes. It's not the same thing, I know, because he was 18 at the time, but still. Yeah. Creepy. And people are creeped out by it for a good reason.
That was the first thing I thought of. I said, why isn't... To be fair, some people did. I was like, why isn't anybody bringing up the fact that he went to her house for I guess it's different somehow?
Well, I guess,
okay, if you want to be honest about the differences between men and women, it is different, because if he wants to leave, she's not going to be able to stop him. Okay, like she would not physically be able to restrain him.
Right.
So it is different, but that doesn't make the practice any less sus.
Yes. This reminds me of the clip of Alex Cooper talking about how she contracted HPV that we talked about last year. She said when she walked into this random guy's apartment that she found on a dating app, she immediately felt like the vibes were off. She immediately was disinterested in hooking up with him or spending an additional night with him.
Yeah.
But she said, I think all of you as women will understand my perspective on this. We've all been there, right, ladies? Where you just want to be a people pleaser and you just want to put a smile on your face and, you know, let it happen even though you're uncomfortable. And there were tons of women in the comments saying they had gone through exactly the same situation and they naturally don't want to cause a fuss over something. They feel like they're overreacting, whatever.
Yeah.
And my interpretation of that is, okay, you can explain the Me Too movement in two ways and only two ways. One is self-interested women who are knowingly lying about things that didn't happen to them. And two, women like Alex Cooper who got into situations that made them uncomfortable but never expressed that they were uncomfortable, and the man was none the wiser.
Yeah.
That's it.
But I mean, that kind of outlines kind of the gray area of where a lot of this goes for people. Is that's a very, very difficult story to tell because it doesn't have clear heroes and villains, and the hero and villain will largely be dependent on like your worldview. Like how you feel, who's responsible for whose behavior in each interaction, because it's so up for interpretation.
But overall, my impression from watching the clips of this interview, it seems like Charlize Theron is representative of a larger problem in women in general, not just celebrities.
Like me, the inability to talk without saying the F word.
There is this strange, I would call it spiritual transgenderism going around, where you will take the worst caricatured aspects and tropes of the opposite sex and adopt them into your personality artificially because you think that there's some kind of benefit you can reap from it, or you think that it will make you seem more intimidating and powerful.
Yeah.
But no, it actually just comes off like you're a 14-year-old boy who says fuck a lot. And, you know, we all know that that's a put on. And it just comes off as super try hard and pathetic. And no one finds it impressive that you can hop into bed with someone half your age. Whether you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter.
All right, let's do some super chats.
Shane H. Wilder said, happy thrashing Thursday, Brett, Mary, and Phil. I'll let Phil know that you said that. Mr. Beast has a promo with Lowe's because when I get lumber or drill bits, I want them Mr. Beast approved.
Well, you know,
why?
Is he doing some type of competition series? He's like, I've locked 100 people inside a Lowe's, and they must build a house.
Well, I mean, I guess it does kind of make sense because they build really intricate sets for his videos.
And he does all the charity, which involves building wells and like the thing about Mr. Beast is like his brand is very versatile when it comes to who he collaborates with. Like you could find a way into most brands if you're Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Mm-hmm. I still haven't tried the Feastables. Have you?
I've never tried a Feastable. It's one of the I see them all the time, but I've never tried them. They're always on clearance wherever I go.
Nobody actually eats them.
I don't know if anybody. I almost bought a Lunchly once for the lulz and did not do it. I should have done it though.
Oh, I wouldn't buy a Lunchly. There were too many moldy ones. I didn't trust it. Weary Traveler said, no Phil on a Thursday show. I'm Audi 5000.
Well, I mean, if you come back, we can talk about the USS Liberty. I know you want to.
Right. You can't deny that one. Shane H. Wilder said, that's what I get for assuming Phil would be here. Well, I mean, I told Brett not to put that in the description. I didn't want to warn you guys about it.
I was gonna put no Phil today, frowny face, and Mary's like, don't do it.
It'll be fine.
Let's do one more.
No Diggity 247 said, happy America Eve, everyone. Yeah.
And to you as well.
It's America's birthday, Eve.
Yes. All right, let's move on.
Following the wedding between Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez over the weekend, people have been raging in debate about what it means for the rest of us common folk. Having a 3-day-long $50 million wedding is about the least relatable thing ever, but somehow people have construed this into a proxy for discussion about gender dynamics as a whole. And the debate currently taking place is over who in this marriage was the prize. Who was the one primarily being sought after by the other one? And I don't know the full account of how they got together, but I do understand that it is kind of a sordid affair because I believe Lauren Sanchez was still married when they got together at first.
Okay, then I think the biggest issue that people are going to run into having this discussion is how they define prize in this.
Right.
Right. There are going. I have like almost. I thought I had a lot to say on this, but I think that I'm just not smart enough to intellectualize the way I saw some of the arguments. I read a lot of stuff on X of people intellectualizing their points, but I tend to fall under the idea that whether it's Selena Gomez, like we talked about the other day, or Taylor Swift, or Jeff Bezos, whoever is in the rarefied air as far as tax bracket is the prize. So if people mention the wedding, people are they talking about, is this the Lauren Sanchez wedding to Jeff Bezos, or is it Jeff Bezos's wedding to Lauren Sanchez? And I tend to believe that if Taylor Swift got married, it wouldn't be the Travis Kelce marriage to Taylor Swift. It would be the Taylor Swift marriage to Travis Kelce. And in this case, the guy who you can talk shit about and then order something from and get it 8 hours later is the prize.
But there's also something to it that's just about fame, right? What if one of them is famous but less wealthy and the other one is more wealthy but less famous?
When we brought up, you brought up Hailey Bieber and Justin Bieber, I said, well, he was the more famous person when they got married, but now she's a billionaire. Right. Does the prize change? I guess not. They're already married. You can't redo that dynamic.
But it's like, who has more of an incentive to stay once that power dynamic shifts? Yeah. Probably Justin Bieber, if we're to believe the rumors that he's broke and totally dysfunctional and his wife is on track to become a billionaire in her 20s. Yeah. He probably has more of an incentive to stay married to her.
So would Benny Blanco if they got like. And the thing is that one's even more interesting because they're both part of the same. They're both musicians. And I guess he's a producer, but he's also a musician, right? And they're both well-respected, or I guess well-known in their industries. But Selena Gomez is the name that more people have heard of. Beyond just her being rich from her cosmetic line.
Right. So you would say Selena Gomez is the prize?
Yes.
In that scenario.
And I would say Taylor Swift as well.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Is Leonardo DiCaprio the prize if he gets married? Even though he's the one constantly pursuing new women?
Well, in your polemic, yes.
Yes, because the idea here is that one of them wants to be the one who actually gets him to settle down. That was the whole conversation around George Clooney for years, was who's the one who's actually going to get this dude to shut up and settle down and be an adult.
I didn't even know that. I only knew of a married George Clooney.
Yeah, well, I mean, for a lot of years, the idea was that he wouldn't settle down, and people were wondering, who will be the one to actually get him to do that, and it ended up being, what's her name, Amal
Clooney.
Clooney?
Well, a lot of people say that Amal Clooney just has his balls in a vice, but that's another conversation for a different day. I just think this is such a ridiculous debate to have, and I'm fine with entertaining a ridiculous debate. It's fine, but for a lot of reasons, Lauren Sanchez is in no way representative of women as a whole, and Jeff Bezos is in no way representative of men as a whole. But it seems like this is dividing along gender lines, and people are mainly saying if they're a woman, they think Lauren Sanchez is the prize, and if they're a man, they think Jeff Bezos is the prize. I don't know, because if it appeared that Lauren Sanchez was in it for gold digging purposes, I might actually say I agree Bezos is the prize, but I think they actually are together for love, as stupid as that may be.
Also, it doesn't have to be strictly money. It's about the access to the type of person he gives her, which is like, she was already wealthy.
She was already wealthy.
She was already wealthy, but there is he is in a very, very he's in rarefied air as far as wealth goes.
There were a lot of people fear-mongering about Lauren Sanchez's cosmetic procedures, and this particular tweet got over 1 million views. We can show the before and after here. I just want to make something very clear. Not a single man on earth likes plastic surgery. And this is can you pull that up? Her in her natural state versus her present day with lots of work done. I think she's 55 years old, and she was probably in her 30s in the first picture.
Clearly marrying one of the wealthiest men on planet Earth tells us that is not true. That's ultra mega nuclear cope.
Right.
There are men that find this attractive. What was the joke I said? They wore Affliction back in the day, and they drank Bud Light, and they had sex with women at bars that were overly fake tanned.
Well, it's not like Jeff Bezos was stooping to Lauren Sanchez's level. Or he was like having to look past her botched appearance because she has a great personality. He's into this. This is his type.
The overly edited version, or is this the real? Because
this is real.
This is real. Okay,
this one is real, and you don't even need to Photoshop Lauren Sanchez to show that she has gone way too far with these procedures. But
he doesn't care.
Here were some of the responses. One from Brittany Hugaboom. While the younger generation is getting ghosted, Lauren Sanchez, post-menopause and engaged 5 times, managed to marry one of the richest men in the world. Say what you will, but she clearly is the prize.
That was the response where I was like, look, you can intellectualize this any way you want. You can put all the fancy words you want around it. The guy worth $200 billion is the prize. I'm sorry. The fact that he could have any woman from any tax bracket that he wants proves that he is the one with more options. So it's just a matter of where you fall as far as your argument, right? He has endless options. He could go out into public right now and go, you, guy or girl,
right?
You,
right?
Dog, you, doesn't matter.
He has endless options, but he just has really weird taste.
Yes.
And people can't seem to square that circle. Yeah. One of the responses said they hate her because they want to marry Bezos themselves. A lot of people saying, if you hate on Lauren Sanchez's appearance, you're just jealous. I disagree. I think that she would have aged better had she not intervened, but we'll never know. And it is just the objective reality. She does look quite striking in a bad way due to what she's done to her face. Another person posted, I don't care about Jeff Bezos, Lauren Sanchez, or their wedding. What I care about is girls and women getting brainwashed into thinking this is normal or beautiful. Please don't do this to yourself, with the same before and after comparison. This is such a fake concern troll. I can't even believe it. There are not legions of young women thinking, oh, if I Frankenstein myself and try to look like Lauren Sanchez, then I'm going to marry one of the richest men in the world.
No, they're
not thinking that.
They're likely following some esthetician on
or Alex
TikTok,
Earl.
Or Alex Earl who's telling them to do that.
Yeah, that's just such a weird thing to concern troll about. And Xavier DeRusso responded saying, the Lauren Sanchez hate is making me like her. I really think some of you are just jealous, and it's self-explanatory.
Well, there's also the meme that was going around. It says, people are hating on the Jeff Bezos wedding, but I just ordered something at 10 p.m. on Amazon and got it by 8 a.m. Get married, king. And
then someone responded to Xavier with more photos comparing her appearance over the years. And then, they're trying to basically imply that she's a horror show. And he responded saying, tell me her net worth in each era exactly. So it seems like he believes her appearance is what made her desirable to one of the richest men in the world. I don't mean to humanize Jeff Bezos too much, but I genuinely think that he loves her personality.
I think
there's a lot
sure
going for her in the charm department. Yeah. Okay, like she's got a big smile. She probably gets along with people easily. Yeah. She wants to have fun.
I do think there's an ego element to this, given what he started with and then became,
Right.
And he was married to a woman that loved him, but looked very plain in comparison to what he sees now.
Salt of the earth,
but who
Mackenzie.
he is now is very different from who he was when Amazon started. There's a meme that's a decade old now that it's like Jeff Bezos in like a sweater vest. It says, I sell books. And then it's Jeff Bezos in a leather jacket with a shaved head. It says, I sell whatever the fuck I want. He is a different person now.
With the mob chic aesthetic.
And there is an element of ego to this. He found a woman that satisfies both his ego and, you would hope, personality-wise.
That's why, that is the crux of the argument for Lauren Sanchez being the prize. People are saying Jeff Bezos pursued Lauren Sanchez because of what being with her makes him feel about himself. And that's what makes her the prize. I think that's a really good argument.
It's a good argument. I still think the idea that there isn't a laundry list of women that could give him the same feeling, if we're talking purely from aesthetic purposes, then that falls apart.
Just look at those text messages that Lauren Sanchez's brother sold to the media for $200,000, and look at what Jeff Bezos said to her. He said, "I love you, alive girl." Okay, super weird. He's obviously a total robot weirdo, but that was his attempt at being sentimental. There is something deeper to it than just, wanting to date a woman who looks like a sex bot.
Then can we turn it around? Can you make the same argument for somebody like Taylor Swift? Because the whole argument with her and Travis Kelce is that he's a vastly different type of guy than the men she's previously dated. Is his masculine profession and himbo energy give her something that she hasn't been able to fill elsewhere, thus making him the prize?
She'll
I'm
overlook
guessing
his dyslexia because he has a normal amount of testosterone in his body.
I read that and I was like, bro, I can't read either. So you know what?
I was puzzled by that because clearly Taylor Swift is at least a standard deviation in IQ above Travis Kelce, but maybe that's not her priority. I just assumed that most women would prefer to date a guy of equal or above her intelligence.
But maybe the idea is that finding someone at her tax bracket that has the energy she's looking for is gonna be literally athletes. It's gonna be athletes and dudes who, it's not even bodybuilders, because there's plenty of actors that work out and stay in good shape, right? So
since you mentioned Jeff Bezos' ego, though, I assume if that's the case, if he initiated the divorce, right? Did he initiate his divorce?
I don't know. I don't know.
It sounds like it from the way you described it.
I don't know which one of them.
He's not nerdy Jeff Bezos anymore. He feels like he can do better or something. That would make a lot of women cynical about dating and marriage.
I mean,
assume that of all men.
The reason that you should have ire for Mackenzie Bezos is because she gives it all to NGOs and charities.
Right.
Yeah.
Does it say who initiated it?
A trial separation, while the announcement was framed as a mutual decision, media reports and public speculation at the time suggested that the divorce was prompted, at least in part, by Jeff Bezos' affair with Lauren Sanchez.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Women actually...
She's also since been divorced again.
Women are not... thank you.
Thank you, guys. Hold, please.
Holding.
Do you think he orders stuff off Amazon?
His assistant does.
I like the idea that he watches stuff on Amazon Prime, but he doesn't pay the $3 for the no ads.
He totally didn't watch Rings of Power. Women are not going to look at Lauren Sanchez and adopt her appearance in hopes of marrying a rich man. Actually, what they're more likely to glean from this story, as far as we know it in the public, is that you can't marry a guy when you see potential for him to be successful, because he's going to get a big ego after finding success and believe that he can leave you in the dust and find his own Lauren Sanchez. That, I think, could make a lot of women very cynical about dating and marriage in general. if they were to transpose this situation onto their own lives, which they shouldn't. For the record,
Yes.
there's nothing about this
You're not going to
that
marry
you're ever
a
going to
You're
experience.
not going to marry a Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Sorry. So.
And that's why people romanticize Mark Zuckerberg's marriage so much, because they got together when they were really young, before Mark Zuckerberg was Mark Zuckerberg, and he still seems to be absolutely head over heels for his wife Priscilla.
She sees
almost to
him-
the point where it's just too much.
She sees him having the glow up and she's
Yeah.
sweating. She's like, no.
Yeah, she does not want to
She's-
end up like Mackenzie.
Oddly enough, he was caught staring at Lauren Sanchez at the inauguration.
Yeah, don't get any funny ideas, Zuck.
And his wife, I'm sure, was like, like I'm taking you for more than half if you do that. Don't even think about it, dude. She's
Okay.
like, all right, she's probably running those fake Zuckerberg AI scams.
I bet.
Make money to
Just
escape.
milking it for all it's worth.
All right, let's finish the super chats.
Adam said no IRL tonight, so PCC IRL?
No.
I didn't know that
I wouldn't
they canceled.
I wouldn't subject you guys to that.
There's no IRL tonight.
No, they
Interesting. Okay.
half day.
Brian Bledsoe said Theron, like Tandy Newton, correcting their name has been used for decades. I'm like, why now? Did I mispronounce Tandy?
No, that's right.
Is that correct?
As far as I know, that's right.
It's not Fandy.
I've got Jeff Bezos' statement from their divorce.
Oh.
He says, "We want to make people aware of a development in our lives. As our family and close friends know, after a long period of loving exploration and trial separation, we have decided to divorce and continue our shared lives as friends. We feel incredibly lucky to have found each other and deeply grateful for every one of the years we have been married to each other. If we had known we would separate after 25 years, we would do it all over again. We've had such a great life together as a married couple, and we also see wonderful futures ahead as parents, friends, partners in ventures and projects, and as individuals pursuing ventures and adventures. Though the labels might be different, we remain a family. We remain cherished friends. Jeff and Mackenzie." And she said, "Grateful to have finished the process of dissolving my marriage with Jeff with support from each other and everyone who reached out to us in kindness, and looking forward to the next phase as co-parents and friends. Happy to be giving him all of my interests in the Washington Post and Blue Origin and 75% of our Amazon stock plus voting control of my shares to support his continued contributions with the teams of these incredible companies. Excited about my own plans, which included giving all the money to half the money
Right.
to NGOs. Grateful for the past as I look forward to what comes next." And she has since gotten remarried and divorced.
Very short time.
Very short time.
They have 4 kids together.
At least she didn't go like through her own like insecure attempt at turning herself into Lauren Sanchez. She stayed true to who she is.
Also, now that he's married to Lauren Sanchez, he is a stepfather to her 3 children from previous relationships.
Blended family.
That's the new norm. But that's the most like professional like divorce PR statement I've ever heard.
Oh yeah, his was straight up like he didn't write that.
Yeah, no way.
No, he would lose money spending the time it would take to write that. He had to pay an assistant to make it so that he wouldn't lose money.
He just made it with ChatGPT.
It was like that story about Mariah Carey saying she has to weigh how much money any trip out will cost. Or will make her, because the cost of security means that a trip to the grocery store will cost her more money than is beneficial to do.
Mm-hmm. Weary Traveler said, "Oh, you're back. You didn't leave. Mary, check your email for a lifetime supply of Zyn and Taco Bell. All that's needed is your date of birth, address, and social security number."
That's such a bargain.
I mean, I might be more likely to fall for that one. That sounds great. Ryan Panek said the Central Park said I can't get any more. Oh, sorry. Central Perk said I can't get any more lattes until I pay my tab. Do you think you could help me out, sweetie? LOL. Love your show, guys. I forgot the name of the coffee shop in Friends.
Yeah.
I'm not really a Friends person, but they have it still, right? They have like an actual location that people go to.
It's like the restaurant from Seinfeld.
Oh,
Still there.
That still exists?
I don't know if it's still in business, but I've walked past it. I didn't go inside.
I'm surprised it wasn't a soundstage.
I'm sure the scenes were shot on a soundstage, but the establishing shot of the outside.
Okay, yeah, they made the Central Perk into a replica.
One of the things that we're doing on our honeymoon is going to like filming locations in Canada.
That's great.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
I love that for you. Shane H. Wilder said, I came close to falling Google phone call scam where they AI their voice to sound American. Then I remembered you can't get a human at Google.
I mean, almost every business now is turning into a model where you can't talk to an actual human being unless prompted like 3 or 4 times.
Adam said, get me so mad all scammer deserve God's judgment. There's this YouTuber, I forget his name, but he will stream for hours scamming scammers. He will pretend to be a naive granny on the phone with these people from India for hours, wasting their time, and then blows his cover at the end and he's like, ha, I got you. And they get so mad. They're actually like screaming death threats.
Yeah, they're like, because that's time they could have been used trying to scam other people.
You're doing God's work, sir. I forget his name, though. I think at least one of you in the chat will know what I'm talking about. Danielle Romstadt said, I was always shocked by the amount of people who used to come into the phone store I worked at for help sending those gift cards to scammers. Yeah.
I should ask my brother. My brother's first job, or not his first job, but my brother worked at a Radio Shack back in the day. He actually sold me my first cell phone, flip phone, from Sprint. I wonder if that existed back then.
Well, a lot of them also like want Target gift cards and stuff like that. Oh, that's another scam I fell for. Wanted to just check the balance on my Target gift card that I had for like 3 years and put the code into a phishing website and lost the balance completely. So then I called Target and I was like, I know this is like really stupid, but I just got scammed out of my gift card. Can you just like give me a new one? And they actually did.
That's the Target way.
Yeah.
They're just like, look, keep the customer happy.
It's all about customer service, which we are about to talk about.
Ironically enough, let's do that right now.
It seems like customer service is a thing of the past, and I really don't want to smear Gen Z undeservedly and take the side of the boomers, but on this one, I have to admit they're right. They are indignant at the lack of customer service that is exhibited in young service workers today. And this was being discussed on X earlier this month. I'm so sick of the new style of customer service where people just stare at you when you walk up to the counter or service desk, and the car service guy saying, "Good morning, I'll be with you in a minute," immediately made me start thinking, wow, this is how you run a business. It's not even that I expect to get my beep sucked or anything, but how am I supposed to know I'm talking to the right person or that the person is ready for interaction and not working on something else if I'm greeted with a blank stare? And this is the stare that is now being dubbed the Gen Z gaze, because all of these Gen Z employees tend to give you the NPC fluoride stare when you walk into a place of business and expect you to do all the work.
It's a mixture of the SSRIs, the benzos, and the Adderall, and it's
and the doom scrolling.
And
the cherry on top is that they will turn the tablet around on you at the end of your interaction and ask you a question. I will never tip on a kiosk.
The tablet is going to ask you a question.
It's absolutely never going to happen. Do you tip on a kiosk?
Yes, I do.
Even like when it's like, I don't even know, you're at a Crumble. You know, they do that at Crumble. They'll like ask you a question and it's like, you literally didn't even make these cookies.
The only place that I go to,
put them in a box.
The only place that I go to where this happens is Little Caesars, and I'm like,
they
you know what?
Ask you a question at Little Caesars,
and you know what? Well, they don't actually draw attention to it, but you know what? They're doing God's work, selling me my $8 pizza, so I tip them. Yes.
Okay, the situations where I tip are as follows: a sit-down restaurant, or getting my hair or my nails done. I don't tip at coffee shops or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe they're doing anything tip worthy. It's supposed to be something that's a gratuity for a reason. This other tweet said, there is a new phenomenon that when you walk into food place or coffee shop, etc., they just stare at you and don't say anything at first. The Gen Z gaze. They're turning into humanoid robots that are going to get replaced by AI that's more polite to you.
They mentioned that it's even happening with servers and the person who greets you at the restaurant. That's like literally their job. the hostess.
Exactly.
That's literally their job, to say hello, and that's never happened to me. I've always, for the most part, we get pretty good service everywhere that we go. And
well, I think in an area like this that's a little more rural, you might be having a different experience than you would in a city. Maybe in a city there are just no like old world practices of basic etiquette.
What's your base level for tipping?
What do you mean, like the percentage?
It's not great, but it's good enough. What do you tip percentage?
20.
20.
Is that too low in your opinion?
That's what a lot of people consider the norm.
Yeah, I just always put 20. It's also the easiest to do the math in my head.
I do 30. But then, like, if it's one of the ones where it's like, sometimes they give you the percentage, like it's like 15, 18, 20. Like, I will just pick the highest one unless it's really, really good. Then I'll do custom amount.
Well, it's also like,
but I've gotten pretty lucky. Like, I don't have I haven't had a lot of bad experiences with it. And I definitely do not punish the server if the food isn't good, because it's not their fault.
But if they are rude, then I will hold it against them and tip less or not tip as a result. The most ridiculous thing about tipping culture now is that you have to tip on DoorDash or whatever delivery app before the person even delivers your food. So they could show up like an hour late. They could show up with half of what you ordered or the totally wrong thing, and you would have tipped them anyway, and because it forces you to.
That used to be the option used to be like, if you tipped ahead of time, you'd get better service because it was rarer.
Right.
If you did the tip before they got there. So sometimes that would get them to work a little bit harder.
Well, with like me getting my hair done, for instance, I want to tip them well because I'm giving them a lot of power.
It's a lot of power in it. Yeah.
I don't want a vindictive hairdresser to ruin my life.
The lady that cuts my hair, 50% every time.
50. Wow. That's actually, I would never tip 50%.
Though, to be fair, there was like one time where I definitely like she cut the part too far and then it had to like regrow back. I was a little bit salty for that.
Still
one.
50 though?
But
out of principle?
I didn't notice it until later. But in general, the idea is like you give that person a lot of power. Like I've been like literally, I was thinking about this recently. I was like, when am I going to get my hair cut before the wedding? Because I can't do it like the week before in case something has to be 2 weeks before to give yourself time in case it's not perfect, and to let the hair regrow or something. You've like, that's a lot of responsibility. And I asked that question, I'm like, does it ever like bother you that like there's a lot riding on literally every haircut? You know what I mean? Like, does somebody ever come in and be like, got the biggest job interview of my life in like 2 hours? Crap.
Yeah. And they know if you turn
screw
someone
up,
around, they're going to be like, oh, it's great. But it's just like the infuriating part of the Gen Z gaze in customer service is it's like, what do you expect me to do? What do you expect me to say? Because I'm actually the one being placed with the burden right now to understand you non-verbally. This one said, I go into a restaurant and get the stare from a hostess, say table for two. She turns around and walks away. Now, is she showing me to my table, checking for availability, quitting her job on the spot? We'll never know. You just have to take a wild guess.
No, and the thing is that actually is a fair argument that it could not be her being rude. It's literally she doesn't understand social interaction enough to look back and be like, give me 1 second, I have to check.
Right.
Or literally look back to give them the the non-verbal communication to follow me. It's literally just not knowing how to human very well.
Everyone is becoming autistic now because they're online. That's, I think, what the real problem is here. And people not being raised right. This is apparently going beyond just food service, though. Doctors and dentists' front desk people act like they have no idea why you're there and give a dazed stare like they don't know what a doctor or dentist is.
But you have an appointment? Like today?
Yeah. It's like you call a business now and an employee picks up the phone and they just say, hello?
Is there going to be a version of like a Gen Z cop who's like taking your statement and they're like,
They pull you over and you roll down your window and they just don't say anything.
And you have to look up at them, press X, and then the NPC like script goes, and they're like, "Do you know how fast you were going?"
But guess what, Brett? It's not the internet. It's not just people having low standards for themselves and others. It's COVID's fault.
It's COVID.
Yeah.
That was the most infuriating part of this article.
This was one possible link to the decline of social and verbal skills in Gen Z after the COVID-19 pandemic. 2024 survey found that reduced in-person interactions have particularly affected Gen Z, as many were in education during the pandemic. As a consequence of the virtual world, they have missed out on crucial opportunities to both develop and practice their communication skills. Their lack of exposure affects their ability to read social cues, engage in spontaneous conversation, and build interpersonal relationships.
I think the most annoying part of both of these articles, both this one and the one from the San Francisco newspaper, is they literally advise everybody to treat Gen Z as if they're handicapped children.
Yes.
They're they're not stupid. They're teachable. They want to learn. You just got to try really hard.
You have to give them a treat.
You have to give them a treat.
You give them a little sweet treat.
And but basically both of these articles are like, it's not their fault they're stupid.
Right. Exactly.
Like they're literally treating them like babies. It's kind of crazy. They're like, in the other article, it's like women are dressing up like whores at the office. You have to just kindly say, "Ma'am, could you not dress like a whore at work?"
Oh no, you're gonna get sued if you say that.
Like, I don't know what type of media you're watching at home, but that outfit is not appropriate for the office. Generally speaking, that if you're getting your fashion choices from websites that have an 18+ consent button on them, it's not appropriate for a real world office. The office siren isn't a real thing in the real world.
Well, I think that some of this is Gen Z being oblivious to social cues and they genuinely don't know better. And it's partially the way they're raised. It's partially being super online. But a lot of them also are in a perceived class struggle against the customers.
And their bosses.
And their bosses. So they have an intense bubbling spite within them every time they have to interact with a customer because they believe the customer is the oppressor and they are the oppressed. They are the lumpenproll.
There's also 3 decades of comedy propaganda of the quintessentially evil customer. It's a real thing. There are awful customers in every job.
Some customers are evil, and I've seen that.
The thing is, though, is there's a lopsided collection of jokes about the evil customer and the bad employee.
Right.
Both happen in the real world. This one, I like this one part. It says, "I remember the first time a friend told me that she didn't think customers were owed friendliness."
Oh my gosh. Like you owe friendliness to society. Period.
Literally, it's good for your own. It's good for your heart.
Yes.
To be kind and polite to people.
Yeah, even and especially.
And you should be hard on yourself if you're not. You should hold yourself accountable for that. Like to this day, maybe it's just the way my parents raised me, but if I forget to say thank you for something, that is, I get angsty having to like apologize for not saying thank you at a point where saying thank you to someone is
That's a
beneficial.
good sign.
And if you're looking to get married and you go out on a date to a restaurant, pay very close attention to how they treat waitstaff.
Yeah.
In general.
These are considered, markers for a red flag for a reason. It says a lot about your character, how you interact with strangers who, don't owe you anything. You have to, it's a two-way street, yes, but you owe friendliness regardless of whether it's involved in your job. And they just act disappointed that someone showed up to the place of business where they work, and you walk up to them and you feel like you need to apologize just for being there.
If you're at a job, it is your job to be friendly.
Only the owner at this point of a restaurant is going to be nice to you because they're the only one with a stake in how they perform.
Yes.
in keeping a returning customer.
I mean, that's one of the hardest things to explain to people that don't really understand what risk it is as a boss to own a business like that.
We got a 20 from Rabid Wino. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. alleged there was a CDC cover-up of an internal study showing a 1,135% increased autism risk from the hepatitis B vaccine. I heard about that on X earlier this week, but I looked into it and I couldn't find the source of RFK saying that. So if you could help me out, I'd love to know.
Just be polite to people. At your job especially, because literally that's what they're paying. If you have a front-facing customer service job, be polite to people, but be polite to people anyways for your own well-being. Literally, because it's good for your soul.
There was a response from a Zoomer actually defending the Gen Z gays, saying, no disrespect, but if you had to deal with the insane amount of absolutely effing brain dead people you've ever met in your life for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, you would do this, and people have been doing this since jobs as a concept were invented. Jobs were not invented, they always existed. You have to work to survive in the world. The amount of strange, annoying, bratty, mentally absent, and generally unpleasant people you meet on the daily is enough for you to go into fight or flight at even the suggestion of talking to one of them. Have a nice day, I say, as they walk away out of the door before they finish paying, and I have to yell at them to get back here so they don't steal. Or they can't find a hyper-specific item and make it your fault. Your distributor didn't hook you up with it. It's even worse if they're old. No one is denying that some customers are nightmares.
Guess what? You're not cut out for this. You're literally, this is a skills issue on your own part. There are people who work these retail jobs. I've met them in every retail job I ever had. They've been there for 20 years. And it doesn't bother them. They love it, whether it's because they just love people and they love the ability to interact with individuals. That's their bag, and they love it, and they come to work every day happy. And even if they're not, they hide it because they know that that's what they are being paid there to do. In absence of having a marketable, irreplaceable skill, your ability to be polite to the people around you is the service that you are selling.
Yeah.
You have a fundamental lack of understanding of how the business world works, and you're going to suffer forever until you go to college and develop some skill set where you can work on your own, and it doesn't matter. In that case, good. If what you want to do is go into computer coding because you don't have to deal with people, good. But that doesn't mean anything, because that just means that you're bad at the job you currently have. It's kind of a flex on your part that you could be bad at a job that anybody's qualified for, but good at a job that few people are qualified for.
If you're this much of a brooding misanthrope, don't work a service job. As you said, it's a good idea for you to just go into a field where you don't have to interact with people in your job.
I've done both. Like I've worked. I worked at Target. I've worked at gas stations. I've worked at my very first job was pushing carts at a grocery store. That's a job that will keep you in shape. Holy crap! But I also drove for a medical supply company and did nothing but sit alone in a car for 8 hours a day. And guess what? I loved it. I loved just not having to talk to anyone at all or interact with anyone except for the businesses that I dropped off medications to. Well,
there are benefits to both and drawbacks to both, but the entire way that post was worded says, I think the entire world revolves around me. I blame everyone else for my problems. I feel easily emotionally wounded by someone not treating me with kid gloves. And that is a problem within Gen Z, not everyone else. And now some firms are choosing to remedy the lack of etiquette in Gen Z with official training sessions for etiquette. They're hiring etiquette coaches in the workplace so that they can be taught basic human skills like eye contact. Something as basic as that.
You guys have to read
doesn't come naturally to Gen Z.
You have to read this article. They literally talk about them like they're mentally handicapped.
They want to be promoted after only a few months, treat the office like their bedroom, show up in sweats or skimpy office siren fits.
Told you!
FaceTime their friends from their desks and ghost their managers. This is the gist of employer complaints about Gen Z workers who seem to be having a uniquely hard time getting along in the office. Much worse, managers say, than the generations before them. In a December 2024 survey of 1,000 employers, 12.5% said a Gen Z candidate had brought mom or dad to a job interview. Bosses are fed up. Gen Z sees things differently. From their perspective, Millennial and Gen X managers have no work-life balance. No cap, my manager slacks me at 10 p.m., said Kevin, a 23-year-old engineer. That's not okay. It appears to be a common theme. Still waiting for that work-life balance they promised us, one young person tweeted.
I mean, this is actually, in a lot of ways, this is the fault of the way this country has gone, which is that back in the day, there was no work-life balance because people felt a sense of pride in the company they worked for. And then you retire, you know, they worked at the same business for 40 years and then they retired. That's not a thing anymore.
Well, also, you know, home ownership is a great way to balance work and life.
Yeah.
The generational divide has become starker as return to office policies have brought Gen Zers in for the first time, working in many cases after years of working and attending school remotely. The culture clash has led employers to a new solution, hiring etiquette experts to train young employees in basic workplace manners. So they mention one example of an etiquette coach who said her inquiries have risen over 50% in the last 2 months. The requests come from tech campus managers, wineries, country clubs, all a variation of the same complaint. Gen Z employees are treating the office like an extension of their homes. One supervisor told a new hire repeatedly who left food wrappers scattered on the communal lunch table, assuming janitors would clean it up.
That is crazy work.
You inherit that from your mom never teaching you to clean up after yourself.
I'm not even kidding you.
That's your upbringing.
There was a day where I sat in bed and was like anxious because I left my water can in the IRL studio next to my chair. And I'm like, somebody had to pick that up.
Yeah.
Like,
but that's, you had that thought because
yes.
you were raised to clean up after yourself. It sounds like a lot of these Gen Zers were raised with moms who just acted like maids and personal servants and also helicoptered over them at all times. So they didn't learn something like that growing up. The manager didn't know how to handle it, and they didn't want to sound like a parent. Yeah, you don't want to sound like a parent, and you also don't want to be a Gen Z employee's parent in that role, because that's asking way far above your pay grade. Yep. So now this woman charges clients up to $2,500 for 90-minute workshops for employees, covering how to make eye contact, where to stick on your name tag.
Always on the right.
And how to ask for and not demand things from your boss. They also address personal hygiene. There are new hires who did not shower or change their shirts for weeks. They didn't want to deal with it, so they hired me. All new hires had to hammer home the hygiene point. Yeah. That is disgusting.
I still can't believe there are people that bring their parents to job interviews. That is, we've covered that on this channel multiple times, but that is crazy work.
Yeah, but I just feel like workshops are not going to fix this problem. The problem started at home. The problem started with their parents raising them to be like this. So you cannot entirely blame Gen Z for this, right?
Correct. Yeah. Ironically enough, it's the generation that's now teaching the classes. That maybe they just don't teach their kids so that they can then have a job teaching other people how etiquette works. It's like it's like a pyramid scheme.
I had etiquette classes in high school that were mandatory for everyone in my grade, and you were tested on it. You know, at the end of the year, we had to do a cotillion where you were graded on your table manners and dancing and things like that. And I hated it.
I wouldn't be able to tell you when to eat with which fork.
I hated it, but I also was able to recognize that those things have objective value and they are skills that you keep for the rest of your life. So maybe that is part of the solution, but the solution has got to start in the home. Yep. I think.
All right, let's finish the super chats.
Okay. Brian Bledsoe said, over 10 years ago, I almost fell for an online dating scam, and I found out when they changed their profile picture before sending anything. I guess maybe back then you wouldn't have been as paranoid about those types of things. Have you ever
I'm
mean, I don't
extremely
know.
no. Like I was raised to believe that everything was a scam. Like we used
Why?
to we used to get. I'll tell you why. Because every night at dinner, we would get some type of cold call. And that made
from
me-
the telemarketers.
From the
Yeah.
telemarketers, and everything was a scam. Better to operate on the safe side and assume everything is a scam. You know why? Because the chances of you winning a Range Rover or a $5,000 gift card that you didn't enter are zero. Zero.
Life advice from Brett Dacevic.
Yeah, Dan Civic.
When we got I am actually like able to remember us having a landline still. We maybe kept it for longer than other people did. And we would get calls from telemarketers, and what my parents would do is they would put it on speaker and give it to us, and they told us to like just scream. Which is probably not a good move because they're just going to put you on the list.
Yeah.
And harass you more, but yeah, that is something that I still kind of do. I answer telemarketers and I just keep them on the phone for as long as possible.
I've heard her do that like during prep for PCC.
I interrogate them. I'm like, where are you from? What do you do? What's your name?
We got some Rumble rants here from the Quiet Part Pod. Says you should make her watch both Independence Days, even though the second one sucked. No, the second one is bad. I don't watch the second Independence Day Resurgence. I still think that those were great trailers, but the movie was awful. But I am gonna watch. We are gonna watch Independence Day tomorrow. Cookie Don says, have you ever grokked your posts on X to see if Grok understands your posts? It's hilarious what it comes up with, especially when it gets it so wrong. I've never done that. Whatever happened says, is calling yourself an actor the new feminist thing? Shouldn't be only using actress microfeminism. No, that's a long-held thing. They always say actor.
Well, they're trying to make actor gender neutral.
It's always been a thing. They've never wanted it to be seen as actor and actress. So, 250 years of USA, thank you, says, tomorrow I'm releasing a daily show going through the 250 years of our history, 1 year an episode until next July 4th to celebrate 250 years. It's 250 years of USA on X, everywhere else. Thanks, y'all. That's awesome. That's great.
Sounds like a passion.
I started watching this channel called Forgotten History recently, and they make these great videos about events in history that was never really my bag. Going into work, I have to like set 3 or 4 of them up because they're 10 to 18 minutes long. But that's a great channel. You should go check out Forgotten History. The local Wendigo says, I'm thankful I work in the back of a jewelry store and not dealing with the customers that we deal with. My smart-ass mouth would get me shot in the face by a customer.
That's an interesting job.
Yeah. I got a friend who just got, like, he's certified as a jeweler now, and he really likes it.
Maybe this is why Gen Z is so into drop shipping scams, because it just doesn't require you to interact with anybody.
Probably.
Kenneth Hart said, guys, AI Shih Tzu 3106 really needs your help for digital kibble. Grok, show me a picture of a hungry Shih Tzu dog crying. Insert Bible verse here. Yeah. It's sad but true. Yep. Adam said, guy who invented sliding doors probably tired of holding doors for women. I have said part of the death of chivalry is you can't place the blame entirely on feminism. It's partly technology, like automatic sliding doors.
Yeah.
You know?
It is also on men that don't have a chivalrous bone in their body.
And
there are
plenty
plenty of men who don't have a chivalrous bone in their body.
For instance, what happened with you getting told off by that lady. Imagine if you took that experience and decided as a result to never hold a door open for a woman ever again in your life.
Yeah.
Simply because of her.
I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have now that everybody else has been appreciative of it.
Like somehow you're actually letting the feminist win if you take her advice.
Exactly, yeah. Yep, you're 100% right.
Adam.
No, I'm just going to hold the door open even harder. Yeah. Like now I'm going to hold the door open for even more women.
It would be even worse if you followed her and then threw your jacket over a puddle.
Purposely, make sure to walk next to her on the sidewalk facing the street. I can't always do that. People have mentioned that in like videos of like me and Olivia walking. They're like, why aren't you on the side facing the street? I'm like, bro,
How do
I
people
can't
even like analyze stuff.
I'm like, bro, I can't hear out of the other ear. I have to walk on the side where I can actually
You get
hear
an
what's being
exception.
said.
You get an exception. Pop culture junkie said, I open doors for everyone, women, men, any skin color, any ethnicity, unless I sense they're not from this solar system. Need to draw the line somewhere.
Nah, even then. Even
aliens?
Even aliens.
Weary Traveler said, I usually get day drunk with my sister and brother-in-law, grill all day, then watch The Patriot that evening.
Nothing wrong with that.
That sounds great.
Nothing wrong with that.
Shane H. Wilder said, all I can say about Charlize Theron's interview, well, fuck, I thought my language was bad. Yeah, it's just like someone who... It's like when you were in middle school and some of your classmates started using curse words for the first time and you could tell they were a little bit nervous but acted like it was normal. Blood-Based said, Bread, you should have been a better friend to Tim and held him accountable for his gambling addiction?
What?
I don't think that Tim has a gambling addiction, but okay.
Is he like, how can it be an addiction?
He just
I always
likes
win.
poker.
That's one of the things that I never understood. Like, I'm never like was like interested in losing my money on games of chance, or even games of skill.
And people would say like, oh, well, Tim gambles more because he has more money, but it's like that's not really true because there are plenty of people with less money than me that are obsessed with gambling. So that cannot be it.
I mean, if you've ever been in because it's so funny because like we used to, as a company, like a bunch of people would go to the casino because there was a restaurant there that everybody would go
Plenty
to
of
together.
them, yeah.
And I would always just be shocked and mortified by the zombies walking around in the casino. Like I was like, whatever happens to me, not this.
And most of the people at the slot machines are elderly.
That's what I'm saying. It's like a lot of I feel bad. Like a lot of times they're lonely.
Right.
It's the only place where they can connect with other people, even in some superficial way, and just not. Maybe,
I mean, they all look miserable.
Like they don't look happy.
I mean, I guess I wouldn't expect you to be sitting at a slot machine and smiling to yourself, but like, you know, like that's not how they look in the commercials. Ryan Bledsoe said, so just like the race-obsessed, the feminists are just reciprocating the perceived wrong behavior to men instead of moving towards more equal treatment among the genders. Yes, that is what they're doing. It seems like they just own it now, though.
Yeah. I mean, but that was the
There's
point.
no pretense anymore.
When I made the post about Charlize Theron, being in like the feminist nature of what she said, somebody was basically saying like you're grasping at straws, you're reaching. I'm like, not really. I think that those points are pretty solid, that feminism wants a specific type of behavior to be okay for them, and it's the behavior of the men that women have long since criticized, and men should long since criticize, or at the very least kind of giggle at the idea of like talking about that like it's cool, especially like at 50 years old.
Right.
Like
it's
like if that's a 21-year-old talking about hooking up with people, that's one thing. I guess you're young, you're growing up, you're making all of the mistakes and doing all of the things that you do to kind of build a full life for yourself. Fine, whatever. But that doesn't mean you won't look back on that later and cringe, which you should. She's too old to look back and cringe. If she cringes in 20 years, it's going to be from arthritis.
True.
So
yeah, and coming from a woman who is a mother and has already been married, it's just there's no honor. Adam said Christ is the prize. Well, yes, but I don't see how that applies to a conversation about Jeff Bezos
like,
and Lawrence Sanchez.
What skit was I watching on Instagram? Some comedy bit yesterday that had nothing to do with politics, and somebody's like, "Behold, the Republican Party," and thankfully, people on both sides were like, "Bro,
what are you talking
shut
about?"
up!" Like, and that goes for Republicans that bring up libs where it doesn't matter.
Thank you, guys. Dingus Khan said, "Happy belated birthday, Brett. Enjoy them pierogies."
I'm gonna have pierogies on Monday.
I'm looking forward to it.
And thank you for the birthday wishes, and also thanks to Shane who wished me happy birthday on IRL last night. I'm not sure if I actually said that, but thank you for that. And I will be eating pierogies that Mary brings in on Monday.
Guys, let me know if you have specific pierogi recommendations. I'll be looking. Gordon Shumway said, men not liking plastic surgery is not a true statement. Men don't like bad plastic surgery or obvious plastic surgery. Subtle plastic surgery that makes a woman still look natural, men like.
There are still plenty of men who like unnatural looking plastic surgery. It doesn't bother them.
That's also true. Yeah.
It's a cult.
Well, it's a smaller portion,
Yes,
I
correct.
think, of men that like badly done plastic surgery.
I'm sorry.
But they definitely exist.
Yes.
100%. Look, we'll just, ask Lauren Sanchez, can we peruse your DM requests?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll find out real quick. There's no shortage.
You don't have to pick Lauren Sanchez. You can pick a less famous person
Any
with
of them,
similar
yeah.
looks, and they're gonna get you're gonna do the same thing. It's gonna be the DMs are gonna be out of control.
Dingus Khan said, don't forget to have a well-done steak with ketchup tomorrow for America's birthday. Don't associate well-done steak with ketchup as some sort of American staple. I will not stand for that. That is anti-American.
I am going out for steak for again, because I'm not angry that we couldn't celebrate my birthday on my birthday like the character in Devil Wears Prada. We're going out for steak on Saturday.
Because you're not a horrible
person, yeah.
male feminist boyfriend.
I also think I came up with another explanation as to why I've never been partial to celebrating birthdays is because I'm horrible at remembering other people's birthdays.
Well, you just gotta.
It's a genuine character flaw on my part. I'm good with like Olivia's birthday. I'll remember my dad's.
Do you know
birthday.
my birthday?
Yes. Actually, I could be wrong about.
Are you gonna say it out loud?
Is it the 14th or the 17th? I know the month. Does it matter if people know?
No,
August.
yeah, they can.
It's
They
August
can know.
14th, right?
Yes, it's August 14th.
But
there you go. You can
like for things that I have to remember, I keep notes in my phone because I have such a horrible memory. But like my dad's birthday, I knew the year for years, and I would mix up the date. I always knew my mom's birthday, but my dad's birthday would escape me sometimes.
I'm trying to find out my birthday twins.
But that's why I'm never going to be offended if somebody forgets my birthday. It's okay.
I have the same birthday as Dochi.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday.
Why?
Yeah, I know.
No.
I did see Tom Cruise's is today, and Tate McRae's was the day before, or was on the 1st.
Star-studded.
Yeah, in July.
Yeah. Pop Culture Junkie said, when I talked to Bezos briefly in Houston in 2003, I found him whip-smart and engaging, but sensed there's a painfully shy goofball in there somewhere.
That's actually very endearing.
Yeah.
Like
that's a humanizing.
And you know what? There's
story.
something about a goofball in 2003 that's more authentic than an LOL so random goofball today.
But please go into more detail about why you were talking to Jeff Bezos in 2003. That's interesting. Shane H. Wilder said, okay, I had to make a VHS cover for Alligator Alcatraz as if it were a 2000s sci-fi movie. I tagged y'all.
All right.
I haven't been keeping up with this Alligator Alcatraz
I mean,
thing.
I've only been keeping up with the memes.
It's a new thing every 3 days.
That's the crazy thing about going offline for a while is you're I'm 9 niche internet things behind from everyone. I came back and everyone's talking about Alligator Alley. I'm I don't know what that means.
But I didn't even delete X, and I'm out of the loop on that, so I don't know. No Control said, yes, I hate that so much. Say thank you or F off. I don't care. Just let me know the transaction is over. Yeah, I just bought something from a convenience store in the airport, and this guy the only word he said to me was receipt.
Okay,
is that the only English word you know?
There have probably been times where at the end of the shift, it's also about if you're working in customer service, it's about gauging the demeanor of the person that you're interacting with. It's when there's plenty of people that don't want to talk to the driver when they take an Uber. They do not want to. They will give you 5 stars because you don't talk to them. But it's about kind of sussing out the demeanor of the person that you're interacting with. So, again, maybe this is just where Gen Z falls short, that they can't read the body language of the person who's coming up to the counter. But when I was working at a gas station, you could tell the demeanor by the demeanor of the person that was walking up there, whether they wanted to chat or not.
What if it's neutral? What do you do then?
Then you do pleasantries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ben Ryder said, as someone who has worked in customer service for 20 years, I'm absolutely disgusted by this and yet not surprised customer service is so dead now.
Yep.
It's a thing of the past, unfortunately. Adam said, LOL, going through the McDonald's drive-thru and no one talks. I cough to make sure they know I'm there. Are you ready for me to order? Yeah, and sometimes on the sound system, they'll say something, you can't understand them, and you're like, I'm sorry, what? And one time I said that, like I asked them to clarify, and they just started yelling. The guy was like, I said, what do you want? Like, whoa, okay, like, you need to go home. Shane H. Wilder said, I only tip at restaurants and barbershops, generally 20%, although I tipped a waiter 100% once because he went so far above and beyond the call of duty. Yep. I wonder what it takes. What did he do?
Yeah, did he like drop the food and like reach the plate out and catch it?
Did he spoon feed you the entire meal?
It's going above and beyond.
Omega Red Fan said the NPC stares I've gotten from bartenders are so 28 years later vibes. Yeah, it is probably on the customer side of things as well, though.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of customers that don't know how to behave with staff. That's fair, 100%.
Weary Traveler said, to quote Daniel Tosh, I always tip 20%, and if it's bad, I just don't go back.
That's a very mature thing to do.
Nah, if someone's outwardly rude in some way that, like, they definitely knew what they were doing, I am not going to tip them at all. Like, I'm not going to reward you for that. Adam said, LOL, make that skit stopped by a Gen Z cop. I want Ryan Long to do it.
What do you want? I don't know, officer. You pulled me over.
I don't know what you're talking about. Shane H. Wilder said, I always say thank you when receiving any service, even fast food. Here lately, the most I've gotten in return is an okay. What happened to manners? Yep. Yeah, usually when I say thank you, they don't say you're welcome or anything like that.
Maybe it's my own like narcissism, but I also don't even care if they don't answer back most of the time. I
don't really care either. I'm just saying
I'm polite because it's the right thing for me to do. Them not being polite back to me has nothing to do with me.
But I'm just saying if it were me in their position, I wouldn't be acting like that.
Correct.
Cesario JPN said it's clear PCC hasn't worked a day in retail or service. Customer is always right is the most blatant lie out there if you worked a day serving people.
I've worked in customer service, or at least jobs that involved interacting with customers most of my life. So that's not true.
But also, we didn't say that the customer is always right.
Yeah, like
we said multiple times that sometimes the customer is wrong.
We made the point of saying that, like, look, and like I said, the reason why there's 30 years of shows and movies. One of my favorite memes is the one where it's like the meanest person you know is the religious lady at brunch after church.
Little bit tipsy on the mimosas
and very rude to the wait staff. But the joke behind that is the hypocrisy of it. And that's fine. But the thing is we know that Hollywood loves to make skits about that because it makes people with money
in White Lotus.
Yes,
yeah.
It makes people with money look like bad people, and it makes people who work customer service look like saints. And that's its own mimetic. It's its own story, and it works. But it's probably a different type of humor to have the employee who's just not good with people. Now that happens too, but the main character wouldn't be the person at the counter. The main character would be whoever the person is who goes up to the counter and is like, why is this person being so rude to me?
I do wonder how Chick-fil-A finds Gen Z employees who are so polite, though. Like, they are the last bastion of customer service, especially in fast food.
Another one of the best skits online is like the Instagram skits about training to be a Chick-fil-A employee.
It's full on boot camp.
Yep.
Yeah. We have a 20 from Pop Culture Junkie. Bezos was in town doing a publicity tour, and in our green room at the Fox O&O in Houston, I started to talk to him since I had recently received a free Amazon tumbler in the mail. I thanked him, and we just started chatting.
There you go. What a guy.
Not a lot of people can say that. That's interesting. No Control said work-life balance became an issue with email, Slack on your phone, contacting you 24/7. Used to go to work, then go home. Even if long hours, that was it. Yeah, that goes for social interaction too, though. Like, having text messages and having social media means that you're never really alone. I think it's kind of made people into recluses who wouldn't otherwise be. Shane H. Wilder said, I've seen it at my work. The communal fridge is a war zone of food that has been there for months. I would hate to see their houses. Well, the ironic thing is probably their houses are spick and span But the communal fridge is a nightmare because they don't care about being courteous to other people.
It's like the guy who owns the business will always be more polite to the customer because he has a stake in whether it does well or not.
Shane H. Wilder said Forgotten History is a vibe.
Yeah, it is. It's a great channel.
Pop Culture Junkie said, I'm in agreement with you, Brett. I worked on enough consumer investigative reporting projects that it's made my scam-o-meter pretty sensitive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I've missed out on the deal of a lifetime at least once. Like at some point, somebody did offer me a free Range Rover, and I just turned it down. Like if I was in the crowd when Oprah gave everyone a car, I'd have been like,
even Oprah is trying to skim.
And that was a scam because they had to pay the first time that happened, they had to pay the taxes on it. Remember? Is that's what happened? Like all the people who got a free car from Oprah, you get a car and you get a car and you get a car. They ended up having to pay the taxes on it. Became a joke.
I'm not sure what currency this is, but the accordion says, hi, Brett and Mary. I'm your biggest fan from Taiwan. I've been listening since June 2022 and never missed an episode. Woke up at 4 a.m. just to send this super chat. Going to Army next week, so no more PCC.
No. Well,
wow. I had no idea that we had listeners in Taiwan, but that's kind of incredible.
Thank you. And if you can, at least check out the segments when you get some free time.
Well, thank you for tuning in, and thank you for the super chat, although I don't know how much $150 in that currency is. Vexkun Kilrog said, for scam calls, I just put my phone next to my PC speaker till they give up. Yeah, that's kind of the move. Just waste more. Like, you have to waste their time because you might be saving an old person from getting scammed the longer you stall them.
Yep.
Robert said, so why is there an Oscar for Best Actress?
It's a very good question. If they like to be called actor.
The math ain't mathing. The feminism ain't feminisming.
I got a Rumble rant here from the local Wendigo. It says, walked through one of main casinos in Detroit with friends, just cutting through to go to a bar down the street. It was my first time in any casino, and I was honestly depressed seeing as it's all digital.
Yeah, there are also a lot of slot machines just in bars in this area.
No clocks anywhere, no light. They block the light from the doors so that there's no passage of time. Oxygen is just dumped into the room to keep you awake.
But there's also the cigarette smoke mixed with that too.
Yep.
Yeah. Straight Rippin' 93 said, y'all buying fireworks? Which is your favorite?
I'm not a fireworks person. When I was young, I grew up in Minnesota, which had, communist rules on fireworks. You had to go to Wisconsin to get your fireworks. Luckily, we lived right at the border. I was in Woodbury, Minnesota, which is like 10 minutes from the Wisconsin border over by Hudson. So we'd go into Wisconsin to get our fireworks. But I'm not a big fireworks person.
Seems to be a free-for-all in West Virginia. But I'm not really a fireworks person unless I'm just going to an actual show of them. Because it's so underwhelming otherwise. Shane H. Wilder said, I'm going to chill with the family and take them out to a seafood restaurant since the 4th falls on Friday. Maybe call some of those that are out of state.
Good.
Yeah, I saw a post warning Catholic Twitter, guys, Independence Day is on a Friday, so eat, I don't know, what would you do? Grill some salmon.
Yeah, because you can't have,
whatever it may be.
Rough.
Shane H. Wilder said, it was a slow night, so the waiter was able to give us extra attention. We were talking about a South Park special, and he did an impression of Cartman. Oh, he won your heart.
There you
Incredible.
go.
Now that's customer service. High Voltage 75 said, I recently procured a copy of the John Adams HBO miniseries, and I plan on watching that over the weekend. Have a happy and safe 4th PCC, and try not to lose any fingers.
Will do.
My fingers will be fine, but AI can just give me some extra fingers if I lose them.
I watched one documentary on the Roman Empire, and now my Amazon suggestions are all documentaries.
Just totally mess your algorithm up.
It's like, do you care about Italian food made by an Italian chef in Italy? Here, watch this. And I'm like, no. Ancient Aliens, sure.
Well, what about, what was that really popular one? Jiro Dreams of Sushi? Maybe you should watch that.
Out of my wheelhouse.
Pop Culture Junkie said, I wish you both a safe and happy 4th of July. As a friend of mine who is now sober used to say, drink a 5th on the 4th. What does that mean?
Like a 5th of vodka?
What is a 5th of vodka?
Like it's a certain amount.
A 5th what? It's a fifth of a.
You're like the Ziva character in NCIS where you ask about these like Americanisms and like nobody knows. They're like,
I feel like nobody knows what any of this stuff
like
means.
I'm sure somebody can explain it.
Okay.
Like that's how Mary wins every day. She just asks me questions that I should know the answer to, and I have no idea. I'm like, I don't know. She's like, two bitten, twice bitten. What was it? Once bitten, twice shy. I'm like, I don't fucking know. It's a song, right?
Look, my assumption is you've been on the planet for longer. You've probably heard this before, right?
So he says 12 shots, 750 milliliters of alcohol. See, I don't drink, so I don't need to know.
12 shots? That would put me in an early grave. So
Like-
I'll abstain. Thank you.
The amount of like things that you could ask about, or it's like you catch more flies with honey, and I'm like, what?
But I just figure, you're just more likely to have heard that phrase.
I've heard the phrase before, but it doesn't mean I can explain it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I asked too many questions.
It's a great way to make somebody feel really insecure is ask like basic questions that everybody's heard but nobody's done any like really thinks about.
Nobody ever really thought about it. Yeah.
It's like when somebody say, or if somebody brings up like old wives' tales, or when they say like 30 days past September, I'm like, I don't know what that means. I still don't know.
What?
I still don't know which months have 31 days and which months have 30 days. I have to look it up every time.
30 days past September.
Read the rest of the phrase.
Oh, it's 30 days has September? A well-known rhyme used to remember the number of days in each month.
Well, I don't remember it.
30 days hath September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31 except February, which has 28 days clear and 29 in each leap year.
See, there was
That is
nothing,
not.
It's not easy. What? That's complicated. What are you talking about?
So not a memory trick. Like that is not a life hack.
Yeah.
I could never remember that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's the type of, and the thing is, Mary, that's the stuff that keeps me up at night. Like not having answers, because you know what? I'm gonna have kids one day, and those kids are gonna ask questions, and I'm gonna be like,
You're not gonna know. And they think you know everything. We have a couple more. Shane H. Wilder said it's 25.4 ounces. Sounds like a bad time. Yeah. Pop Culture Junkie said a fifth in alcohol measurement refers to a standard bottle size for spirits, particularly in the United States. It was historically equivalent to 1/5 of a U.S. liquid gallon.
okay, then somebody want to explain to me
Thank
what
you.
A finger of whiskey is, or
Oh. Does it just mean that it's only a
That-
finger width in
that
the
high?
glass?
Yeah, like as far as I know, that's what it is. But like
Wait,
that came
what?
to like that I don't know if that's true. That's what I assumed it was.
Let's see. Finger of whiskey is okay. Any of several units of measurement that are approximately the width
Yeah.
of an adult human finger.
So like this.
There are way too many variations in that for that to make sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
I see this thing. Everybody complains about ChatGPT, but wait till we have kids, and I'm like, oh, thank God, I can ask this question.
That's
and
so
get the
funny.
answer.
Yeah, if you have kids, they'll just treat you like your ChatGPT.
Back in the day, parents probably just lied.
Yeah.
They just said something and just
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, that's kids are just like, why? Why?
Why?
Why?
Mary does that sometimes.
That's me. That's,
She's like, but why? And
I
I'm
never
like,
grew out of it.
and I'm like, I have no idea. Guys, hit the like button on this video and pour 2 fingers of whiskey for yourself. Hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you are new here. If you have not subscribed here yet already, please and thank you. Mary, where can they find you?
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived, and help me get TikTok famous. That is also Mary Archived.
There's one more there from Not That Jon Stewart.
The answer is go ask your mother.
That's going to be such a life hack for me.
That's a good one.
I'm ready for
Yeah.
that one. Guys, if you want to follow me, I am on Instagram and on X at Brett Dastovic on both of those platforms. We are here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, of course, noon Pacific. We are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you'd like to listen rather than watch the show, you can rate and review as well on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, which also helps us out. If you want to follow us on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. There's one more there.
High Voltage 75 said, so when Brett goes away for wedding stuff, what's the plan for PCC?
We're working on it.
So I forget those exact days, and maybe we shouldn't even
We're not
say
gonna
what they
say
are.
those days, yeah,
we're
but
not going to say what those days are, but I'm planning to do a show on the days where I'm obviously not out of town at your wedding. We'll let you know when we get closer to the date. Should we say the month, though?
I don't remember if
maybe we should just not.
Well, yeah, I think I mentioned, but we're gonna avoid it.
Shane H. Wilder said, a finger is only a finger width. Signed, a bourbon drinker. Happy 4th, y'all.
See, that's the thing. That came to me after like 20 years of hearing that phrase. And I'm like, oh, like that stuff happens to me all the time.
And then weirdly, you start hearing everybody referring to it.
Yeah. All right, wonders never cease, ladies and gentlemen. Where does that phrase come from? Who knows? We will be back with another episode on Monday. We will see you guys then.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.